The 15th question. The graph of f prime is given below. At which point is f continuous but not differentiable? From the graph given, we can tell at point A there is a removable discontinuity, and at point D there is an essential discontinuity, which means answer A and answer D are not correct. And we find at point B there is a cusp, which means there will be a vertical tangent line. So at point B, it's not differentiable. So the answer is B. Okay, next question. 16. For what value of x does the function f of x equals x cubed minus 9x squared minus 120x plus 6 have a local minimum? To find a local minimum, we need to find the critical points first. So we take the derivative of function f of x first and set it to be 0 to find the critical points. Equals 3x squared minus 18x minus 120 equals 0, and simplify it. Factorize the expression. So we can find x has two values. The first one is x equals 10. The second, x equals negative 4. Now we need to determine which one is minimum, which one is maximum. So we need to take the second derivative of function f of x. If after we plug these 2 points, these 2x into the function f double prime of x, if it yields a positive value, that means it is a minimum. If it yields a negative value, that means it is a maximum. So we try it. The second derivative of f of x equals 6x minus 18. Then we plug the first x equals 10 into expression. And we found the answer is positive, which means at x equals 10, it is a local minimum. So we choose A. Okay, next question. 17. The acceleration of a particle moving along the x-axis at time t is given by a of t equals 4t minus 12. If the velocity is 10, 1t equals 0, and the position is 4, 1t equals 0, then the particle is changing direction at. We know the particle will change direction when velocity equals 0. So we need to find the function of velocity first. As we know, the derivative of velocity is acceleration. So the integral of acceleration will be velocity. So we integrate the acceleration function first. 4t minus 12 dt. And set it equals 0. Here we need to add constant. So here we find we have a variable, but don't forget this sentence. If the velocity is 10, 1t equals to 0. So we know 1t equals to 0, v equals 10. So we substitute 0 for t and 10 for v. So 10 equals 2 times 0 minus 12 minus 0 plus constant. And we can get c equals 10. So the function of v equals 2t squared minus 12t plus 10. So next step, we need to set it to be 0 and solve it. T squared minus 6t plus 5 equals 0. And factorize it. So x equals 5, the second x equals 1. Now we need to double check with these two x values. We need to plug them back into the acceleration function to see if acceleration will become 0. If acceleration becomes 0, that means at that point the particle is not moving. So that means the particle is not changing direction. So we double check. So A1 so here's t. So 4 times 1 minus 12 is negative 8. It's not 0. The second, A5. So 4 times 5 minus 12 is 8. Still not equals to 0. So both 1 and 5 are our answers. So we choose D. Okay, next question. 18. What is the area of the region between y equals 2x squared and y equals 12 minus x squared? And as we learned, to find the area of the region between two curves, the formula is A equals integral A to B, and f of x minus g of x times dx. That is our formula for the area of a region. And in our case, we need to find the intersection first. So we need to set two curves to be equal to each other. Okay, so 3x squared equals 12, x squared equals 4, so x equals plus minus 2. So we can get our expression like integral from -2 to 2. The function first one is 12 minus x squared, which is on top, minus 2x squared dx, and we simplify it. And we can get the answer 32. So our area is 32. We choose C. Okay, next question. This problem requires us to know the rules of exponential function. So I list the formulas as follows. The first formula we need to know is e to the ln of x equals x, or another one, a to the log base a x equals x. That is the first formula we should know. Another one is log base a b to the n equals n log base a of b, or we can write it in natural log. Ln b to the n equals n ln of b. So after we review these two formulas, we can simplify our integrand we can rewrite it like I write here e here obviously I use the second formula. Next step, here I use the first formula, this one. So it's x cubed plus e to the 3x. Another formula we should be familiar with is the third formula right here. The derivative of e to the k dx equals 1 over k times e to the kx plus c. So this expression equals x to the 4th over 4. This we use power rule. The second one we use the third formula, which is 1/3. K equals 3. E3x and plus C. So we choose D. Okay, next question. 20. The 20th question is complicated derivative, and we rewrite it first. We rewrite it in a way easier for us to take the derivative. So f prime of x equals, by product rule, plus negative 1/2, and here we use chain rule, times we don't need to simplify this expression further because it is very complicated. We just need to plug in x equals 0 directly into the expression. So the first one is 2x plus 1. Okay, so 2 times 0 plus 1 is 1. So it's and this is 0, 0. So the first term is 121 to the 1/2 plus 0, 0 is 11 times 1/2 times 0, 0, 121 to the negative 1/2 times 0, 5. The first term is 11. The second one is times 1/11. So it's 11 plus 5/2, which is 27/2. We choose B. Okay, next question. If f of x equals 5 to the 3x, then what is the value of f of x, of derivative of f of x? Before we take the derivative, we need to reveal exponential formula first. So the derivative of a to the x equals a to the x times ln a. So here, f prime of x equals 5 to the 3x times ln 5 times, here there is a 3, so by using chain rule and the exponential rule, we get this expression. So obviously there is no such expression in 4 answers. We need to rewrite it. So here, this form is very familiar, should be very familiar to us. We just reviewed it. So ln x n to the n equals n ln times ln of x. So we can rewrite it like ln 5 to the 3, which is ln 5 to the 3 is 125. So we choose A. Okay, next question. A solid is generated when the region in the first quadrant enclosed by the graph of y equals x squared plus 1 cubed, the line x equals 1 and the x-axis and the y-axis is revolved about the x-axis. Notice that it revolved about the x-axis. It decides which formula we should choose. Its volume is found by evaluating which of the following integral. So we sketch the graph first. So 1, this is also 1. And revolved about the x-axis. So from the given condition, it looks very easy to use the disk method. So we slice this solid into numerous disks. So the formula is pi integral from A to B fx squared minus g over x squared. Dx. In our case, our A and B is 0 and 1. So our solid would be like this. So we slice it vertically. So we will get numerous disks. So we integrate from 0 to 1. And every piece of slice is a circle. So the sphere of a circle is pi. The formula is pi r squared. So, and in our case, f of x and g of x is different radius. But in our case, in fact, gx equals 0. That's why I call it disks. All this formula, I should call it washers. But because g of x is 0, so it looks like a disk. So f of x is x squared plus 1 squared minus g of x equals 0 and dx. So we don't need to simplify even further. We already get our here. This is 3. Our function is x squared plus 1 cubed. So add another square. So it's 6 dx. So we should choose which one. It's D. Okay, next question. 23. the limit as approaches 0, we will get an indeterminate fraction. So when x equals 0, so the denominator is 0, and the denominator 1x0 sine pi over 2 is 1, so 1 minus 1 is also 0. So we will have an indeterminate form 0 over 0. So we realize that we need to use the Lobster Rule. So by Lobster Rule, right now we need to take the derivative of the denominator and the numerator separately. So limit x approaches 0, and take the denominator and numerator separately. The top becomes cosine, because sine x prime equals cosine x, and x equals is 0. X prime is 0. So when x approaches 0, so here is 0. So the answer is cosine pi over 2 divided by 1 is cosine pi over 2, which is 0. So we should choose B. We need to be very familiar with the Lobster Rule. And Lobster Rule has two parts. One is 0 to 0. One is infinity to infinity. So whenever we have a limit, and the limit is of an indeterminate form, either 0 to 0 or infinity to infinity, we should use the Lobster Rule, which states we need to take the derivative of the bottom and the top separately, and plug in x to find our final answer. Okay, next question. If dy over dx equals 3x squared plus 2 over y, and y equals 4, when x equals 2, and then when x equals 3, y equals what? Obviously, we need to find the function of f of x. Or we can't find the answer of y when x equals 3. So our first step. So obviously the equation in the given condition is differential equation. So the first step, we need to separate the variables. dy, so y times dy equals 3x squared plus 2dx. So anytime when we have a differential equation, the first step is always separate the variables. dy. Okay. The next step is integrate both sides. Y dy equals 3x squared plus 1 dx. Left become y squared over 2 by power rule. The right become x cubed plus, oh, this is 2, not 1, 2x plus constant do by using power rule. So now we simplify it. So next step, we just need to solve for C. From the given condition, when x equals 2, y equals 4, we can have our equation like this and solve it. 4 equals so C equals this is y squared, made a mistake. Double check. Y is 4, 16. So here is 16 plus 2, 4 plus C, 24. So negative. So C equals 8. This cancel out. So C equals negative 8. Okay, this will confuse you. So left is 16. Right is 16 plus 8 plus C. So C, the constant, is equals negative 8. So our equation y squared equals 2x cubed plus 4x minus 8. Now we can have our value of y. 1x equals 3. So y squared 2 times 3 cubed plus 4 times 3 minus 8 equals 2 times 27 plus 12 minus 8. So 54 plus 12 minus 8. It's 54 plus 4 is 58. We choose B. Okay, next question. 25. We need to reveal a formula first, then we can solve this integral. This is an inverse trigonometric integral. So integral of 1 over 1 plus x squared dx equals inverse tangent of x plus constant. So we need to, our expression, we need to rewrite it. So I1 plus yes, we need to rewrite it in this way. So it becomes like this. So here we need to add, because we times the we multiplied the denominator by 1/3, so the bottom we also need to times 1/3. Oh, dx. So we write it in front. Oh, I made a mistake. Dx here. Okay, now we use U-Substitution method. We let U equals 1/3 times x. So we substitute when U equals 1/3 x, so du equals 1/3 dx. So now we substitute 1/3 dx as du and 1/3 x as u. So this is exactly like our formulas. So plus c. So next step, we just need to substitute back. So we should choose B. Okay. (26) If f of x equals cosine cubed x plus 1, then f prime of pi. This is just a derivative question. So to find the value of f prime of pi, we need to find the expression of f prime of x. We take the derivative of the function by using trigonometric derivative rule and the chain rule. So cosine x prime equals negative sine x. And we also need to use the power rule. So x to n prime. Okay, so by using chain rule, we take the derivative of the outside first, then inside. Negative. This is negative, this is pi. So we simplified. So f prime of pi here I should write here. They are very different. If I write cosine x plus 1 squared, that means that means the angle is x plus 1 squared. So if we write squared here, that means it is cosine x plus 1 squared. So So we should choose A. Okay, next question. 27. This integral, obviously we need to solve it by using U-Substitution method. So we set U as x plus 3. So du would be dx. So we substitute. So when u equals x plus 3, so x equals 3 minus u, u minus 3. So we substitute u minus 3 for x, so u minus 3. Then times dx equals du. And the square root of x plus 3 is this. Okay, use the distributive property, it becomes and separate it. And integrate two terms separately. Plus constant, and then we need to substitute back u equals x plus 3. So we should choose answer B. Okay, next question. 28. If f of x equals ln of 1 minus x, then f prime of x. So obviously we need to use chain rule here. So f prime of x equals, first is always differentiate from outside to inside. 1 and then times prime, because dy over dx by chain rule it equals dy over dt times dt over du times du over dx. Or, for example, if 2 is dy over dt times dt over dx. So in our example, we can set, in our example is 3. So in our example, t is equals ln 1 minus x, and u equals 1 minus x. Okay, so dy over dx equals, first one is dy over dt. So y is ln, if ln of 1 minus x, so it's ln t t. So first one, we take the derivative of function y equals ln of t, because t equals ln of 1 minus x. So this is t. So we take derivative of this function first. So equals t 1 over t. Then we take the second derivative, t and u. So here is t and u. So u equals 1 minus x. So this function, we can rewrite it as ln u. So second is we take the derivative of t with respect to u is u 1 over u. So next is du over dx is this. So du over dx is -1. Okay, then substitute back. So t equals ln minus x. Okay, u equals 1 minus x. Then it's -1. So the final answer is D. Yes. Oh, this is 1. U is here. 1 minus x. So the final answer is D. Or we can use an easy way. Just take a derivative from the outside into inside. So the outside is ln of ln 1 minus x. So it's take the derivative of logarithm function is equals ln of 1 minus x, 1 over ln of 1 x. Then take the inside ln of 1 minus x. Do this one from outside into inside. This is the outside, the inside. This take derivative of the inside ln of 1 minus x. So this is also 1 minus x, 1 over 1 minus x. And the inner one, the innerst one is -1. So this is even easier. Okay, next question. 29. The limit x approaches 0, x times e to the x over 1 minus e to the x. So anytime we have a limit question, we just plug in x equals the number they give us. So the first step, always plug in x equals the number they gave us. In our case, is 0. So the second step, evaluate. So after we evaluate, we found x equals 0 times e to the 0, 1 minus e to the 0. So we get a limit of the indeterminate form, because on the bottom there is a 0, on the top there is another 0. So this is an indeterminate form, 0 over 0. So next step, we already know, use Lobster Rule. Which states take the derivative of denominator and denominator separately. So the third step, take a derivative of bottom and top separately. So on the top, obviously, product rule. simplified and cancel e to the x out. One plus x. This is the expression we get. So the next steps, do you plug in x equals 0? So it's a negative limit plug in becomes 1. So after we plug x equals 0 to our limit expression, we get our answer is here there is a negative, sorry, so it's B. Okay, next question. 30. Integral tangent to the 6th x times secant squared x dx. Obviously, this integral, we still need to use U-Substitution method. Step 1, let U equals tangent x. Why we set U to be tangent x? Because we found secant squared x. We should be very familiar with this trigonometric function derivative formula. Secant x squared. That's why we set U to be tangent x. Then we rewrite it. So it's U to the 6th and du. When U equals tangent x, so du would equals secant x squared dx. So here, secant squared x dx, we can substitute by U, du. Okay, continue. Plus constant. Then substitute back. Which we should choose A. Okay, next question. We must be very familiar with the formula. Oh, sorry. It's an easier question than I expected. We just need to take the integral separately by using two formulas. The first one is sin x prime equals cosine x, and the cosine x prime equals negative sin x. Okay. As we know, cosine x prime equals negative sin x, so that means integral of sin x dx equals negative cosine x. Another integral formula is integral of cosine x dx equals sin x plus constant. Okay. So this one is sine x. This is much easier than I expected. So it's negative cosine pi over 4 minus cosine 0 plus sine, 0 minus sine negative pi over 4. Cosine pi over 4 is here we need to use another formula as up here. Sine negative of equals negative sine of. So it becomes sine pi over 4, which is, so our final answer, so this is equals, this is negative, this is positive, so they cancel out, and the negative negative, so it's positive 1. So we should choose C. Okay, next question.